What is going on, guys? Captain Alex here, and you are watching a very special video because today we are going hands-on with Immortals Fenyx Rising, a brand new game from Ubisoft launching this holiday season. Now, they let me go hands-on with this game for about 3 hours, so I'm just going to give you a quick little deep dive into the game right now. And I will say, if you are a fan of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you are going to want to stick around because this game is very similar, and I'm going to point out some of those similarities throughout the course of this video. So here we go.
Fenyx, fighting with all her might, had nearly reached Olympus on her quest to defeat Typhon, the dreaded god destroyer. But first, she would have to plunge into the Forge Lands. Once home to Hephaestus, god of fire, hammer, anvil and forge, these were now godless lands. Scorched, laid to waste. What was not dead was dying. Chaos reigned. For here, monsters roamed free.
Can you not tell this story like I wasn't just there?
Zeus.
I was literally just there 2 weeks ago, and even if I wasn't, though I was, I'd be listening to your story for days.
It's called dramatic effect.
It's called Where is my skip button?
So the demo itself was actually narrated by Zeus and Prometheus, but I was told that the actual game will not be, but I hope that he is still in it in a pretty decent capacity, because it seems like they had a lot of fun and put a lot of humor into Zeus and Prometheus's relationship. So yeah, I hope they didn't cut him out entirely.
It is actually pronounced Ubisoft.
The French.
Alright, so after the title card, they let us go right into the demo. They told us there's pretty much a main storyline they want us to complete, so that's the first thing we did. This is teaching us how to use the Far Sight. This is pretty similar to Breath of the Wild, where you use the Sheikah Slate to find things on the map and set your pins. The key difference here is that you can actually use this Far Sight ability to figure out what things are in the environment and reveal them and identify them as like key points that you want to go to. So I know in Breath of the Wild I would always see like towers and stuff in the distance, and I would put pins on those, but this actually tells you like what something is, which was pretty cool. So there's our first look at the glide ability. I jumped off the cliff, dived right down. We'll get back into this in just a few minutes, but a pretty cool mechanic overall and really pretty.
No lawsuits here, please.
So here's just a quick look at the horse summoning system. So you can summon your horse, and you can actually tame a whole bunch of different horses within the game, and then you could summon any of those at any point as well. So again, very similar to Breath of the Wild here, where you can summon Epona or whatever horses you have managed to tame. You can bring them to you at any time. Here I'll just show you a quick look at the climbing system. Again, pretty much the same, very similar to Breath of the Wild. You could pretty much scale any face, any surface that you want, but of course you need to worry about your stamina gauge there. If you run out of stamina, you're going to fall off the cliff. Diving now right here into the first trial. This is Odysseus' struggle. Now again, this is very similar to Breath of the Wild with the Sheikah shrines. There are these trials throughout the world. They are portals to the underworld essentially. And at the end of each of these trials, there is a bolt of Zeus's lightning that you have to collect. So, like I said, very, very similar here to Breath of the Wild and those Sheikah shrines. Each one is a different type of puzzle. You've got to use different abilities to overcome them. But overall, very fun. Here you could see I am using the Heracles' power, which allows me to lift heavy objects, which is very similar to the Magnesis in Breath of the Wild. And here we go. Once we get to the end of the dungeon, we get Zeus's lightning, this beautiful cutscene credit here. And yeah, we acquire Zeus's lightning. I'm not entirely sure what the lightning does. I think it powers you up, but there may be another use for them as well. Now moving on here, this is a really good look at the gliding mechanic. I honestly loved this. I would loved finding high points, just jumping off them and gliding. The landscape is beautiful. I really do think the art in the game is incredibly beautiful. So this was just a calming thing to do, to be honest with you. If you got like a little bored or overwhelmed or just had a big battle, you just go jump off a nice cliff. That sounds terrible, but you jump off a nice cliff and you go for a little glide, and it's really kind of relaxing and calming. And again, just like in Breath of the Wild, you have stamina that if you run out, you're going to fall out of the sky. Here we go. This is just a little treasure chest that I found in a hidden shrine after completing a small challenge. And then in these treasure chests, you could get all kinds of things. This one happened to have some headgear. So we'll go and look at the inventory system real quick now. So you could swap out your headgear, and these are not just cosmetic. They do actually have a purpose. As you can see, they can increase the amount of damage you give, the amount of defense that you have with them on. So yeah, they not only change the look of your character, they also give you some benefits for using them as well. I personally really liked this lion mane helmet that I found. This is the one that I actually found in this dungeon. And I put this one on because it reminds me of Hercules in that scene where he's wearing the skin of Scar from the Lion King on his head. So I ended up wearing this lion's mane. I thought it was cool. But there's some really cool other ones in here as well. And I'm sure there's tons of others within the demo that I wasn't able to find. And I'm sure there's hundreds within the game. And then this next part, this was actually one of my favorite things that I found in the demo. This is a really good look at Apollo's Arrow, which is an ability that your bow and arrow have. And you can basically use your arrow to complete these challenges throughout the world. So basically you shoot an arrow and then you take control of that arrow. And while I'm showing you that I did this in one take, this took me about 15 to 20 tries to get right. It is a very long course, as you're currently watching, and it took me a while because you make the slightest incorrect move and you end up hitting something and you got to start all over, or your hand slips off the trigger and you got to start all over. So it was definitely a challenging thing, but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of like Pilot Wings or something like that, where you've got to really just kind of find your way through an aviation sort of flying themed course, and I thought that was fun. So I really liked this. I also really liked this ability because I was able to use it to think outside the box when I was in a dungeon or I was in an area where I didn't really know where to go next or how I wanted to explore this specific area. I was able to use Apollo's Arrow to fly around the world for me without my character physically moving, and then I could find areas up close basically, and then basically follow my arrow to where it was to basically figure out the courses. And then after I finished this challenge, I was able to get some coins. Not entirely sure what these are for, but yeah. And the next thing here, I'm going to show you the diving mechanics and the underwater world of Immortals. I wasn't able to find any chests or anything really under the water, so I'm not entirely sure if there is going to be like underwater dungeons or underwater treasures that we're going to find. I would imagine that there is, but I ended up drowning there and then I moved on. So now I'm going to show you the battle system mechanics. This was a really cool Coliseum area that I found on the map, and I was like, that looks awesome. So I'm going to go check that out. I ended up coming all the way to this end of the map, and there was this battle with Odysseus's Wraith. Odysseus's Wraith actually came up a few times. I ended up battling him a few different places all around the world map. But specifically here, I'll show you this battle because it's in a really cool area on the map. And we'll get to check out the battle mechanics. So the world gets pretty dark and fiery, ashy when Odysseus' Wraith is around. There are some other monsters and stuff that this doesn't happen with, but these Wraith battles, really the environment changes, which is pretty cool. So we'll go into the battle now, and it's pretty much straight up hack and slash type battles. You just like in Breath of the Wild, you find a weapon, you get a new weapon, you pick which weapon you want to use, and you just hack and slash your way to defeat the bad guys. The good thing is, in this game, you actually have some powers of the gods. So those in the bottom right-hand corner there are the powers of the gods that you've been gifted so far. And I don't know if there's more that are unlocked throughout the game, but they're extremely useful. There you go. You can see I just used it just there. But they take a lot of your stamina. So you use these moves, you're out of commission for a few seconds until your stamina comes back up, and then you can use them again. So there we go, right there, I was able to use it again, and they do a ton of damage, so they're extremely useful to use. But again, you can't just button mash there. You've got to actually kind of strategically use those because you will lose your stamina in the process. So check this out. The world, once the Wraith is gone, it goes back to normal a little bit. Absolutely gorgeous. Check out this stadium. I'm sure there's a ton of things that I could explore, but right after this, I actually ran out of time in the demo, so I didn't get to do too much more. But absolutely gorgeous. There's the Phoenix flying around me. If you are a fan of Breath of the Wild, if you enjoyed this first look into the game, I want to thank you first and foremost for watching. And this bad boy comes out on December 3rd, 2020. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.